welcome back, everyone, to the Full Court Frequency Podcast. I'm your host, Connor Hollenbeck, and today we've got a great guest on today, Coach Cole Edwards. Coach Edwards is currently the activities director at Bishop Ryan, where he's also been the head girls basketball coach for the past couple years. Before that, he built his experience across multiple levels of the game, from high school to JUCO to Minot State at the Division II level. He's a former player at Williston State, where he was a team captain on a nationally ranked team, and now he's taken the leadership into building programs and shaping culture on and off the court. In this episode, we're going to dive into obviously a recruiting talk, NIL, what it takes to lead an entire athletic department, and how he's built culture at Bishop Ryan. Coach, athletic director Edwards, thanks for coming on today, taking time out of your busy schedule.
Absolutely, man. Pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun episode. I've always liked talking to you in person just because we both share the same interests in, athletic directing, coaching. We kind of took a similar path where we went junior college first and then transitioned. So, just starting out here, I do want to turn back the time a little bit and talk about in high school, your senior year at this, how do you pronounce it? Lax Burlington?
Delax Burlington,
Lax
yeah.
Burlington, I knew that. Your senior year, you're getting recruited to go play at Williston State, a junior college in North Dakota. What separated them during the recruiting process as far as you wanting to go there and play hoops?
To be honest, mostly it was just basketball. I wasn't
Yep.
like really recruited heavily for basketball. I had more looks football wise, some NSSC schools of football, and a bunch of NAIA schools. Williston and Dickinson State were the only two that talked to me for basketball at all. Dickinson was nothing ever really came with that. We didn't get too in depth on it. I wasn't that interested in headed to Dickinson. I knew if I wanted to go play basketball, it was going to be JUCO first there, and then maybe move on from there. So, but with that too, Williston just had great facilities for the JUCO level. I mean, you've been in their gym, you've seen it. As far as JUCOs go, especially in North Dakota, it's facility wise, it's got to be up there as the best. Possibly now you get Dawson
I
and a few
think so.
others kind of improved, but it's up there. The Well's a beautiful place, and they added that $70 million rec center right out the back on campus there. And then Coach Peterson, Eric Peterson, who's at South Dakota now, was actually the coach that brought me on there. And then 2 days after I committed, he left.
Sure.
Uh,
Yep.
so that kind of threw a wrench into things as far as the recruiting thing. Like, am I staying? Is the other coach gonna want me? And Corey Farringer came in. He ended up leaving Botno to come to Williston. And it was obviously the best situation for me. I think I fit his style of play more than I did Peterson's.
Okay.
But kind of just came down to the facilities being close to home. One of my high school teammates ended up going to Williston as well, so that obviously helped kind of pull me that way rather than going the football route.
Sure. Yeah, I can almost relate to you a little bit on that recruiting piece. Like, a lot of people don't know when you're a high school player, you're a JUCO player getting recruited to your next spot. Um, a lot of coaches are on the move without you even knowing it. They might be recruiting you while knowing they're going to take a job the next 2 weeks. Like, for example, Randall Herbst, he was at Minot State, now currently the head coach at Minot State, but he had left for UND. But prior to that, he was like the main guy who recruited me to go play at Minot State, and he was almost the main reason I committed. And right when I committed, he ended up going to UND. But kind of like you, it worked out for me. I ended up loving it, but it's a lot of people don't know that coaches are constantly moving around, and you could be getting recruited one spot and they take off the next week. But no,
Yeah, it's a bit of a carousel with coaches. They're obviously trying to improve what's best for them and where they got to be. So, got to respect that and just hope that they're at least transparent through it.
right. And staying on your JUCO experience here, what was it like playing at Williston during your top 15 run? What separated you guys from the rest of the country?
What I think Coach Farringer was super high intense guy. No matter what we were doing, if we were in a study hall, it was intense. Like he just brought a level of intensity that I didn't see and still haven't seen a ton of. Maybe with Matthew Merkin a little bit, some of that
Right.
intensity came there, but just a really intense dude, and he just got us all to buy in, and mostly just through trust of him. Like we were going through what he would call Hell Week, as you've been through a trillion of them, I'm sure, where you're conditioning, you're probably having three practices a day at times. He did it all with us. That's what they always said is like, I won't make you do something that I can't do. And like 6 a.m. pool workouts, he's swimming laps, beating most of us, to be honest with you.
Right.
He did it all. And outside of that, I think just he had a good support staff with him. Riley Hernandez was actually one of the assistants, who's at Montana State now as an assistant, and then Sean Sturkle, uh, him and Farringer are actually running some camps now together throughout time. He's a high school coach at Bridgeport, so it's a really good staff. And then Farringer is also an elite recruiter.
Yeah.
He brought in Tavon Myers, ended up leading the nation in scoring. He was conference player of the year with a kid from Wapaton. What was his name? Is it Johnny Woodard?
Sounds right.
I think so. So I mean, having the nation's top scorer doesn't hurt anything by
Yeah.
any means. But we were just really deep. Our guard play was really, really deep. We had him who ended up leaving, going to West Virginia. We had a Division I transfer from South Alabama came in and played the point guard position. And then we had a kid who should have probably been D1. Things just didn't work out for him academic wise. And then some personal stuff happened where he ended up going back home for a little bit afterwards. But really, really deep. And then we played a really fast style of play and had guys. Our bigs were all athletic. We didn't have any bigs that really slowed us down. So we were in
Sure.
transition a ton. Pick and roll was high level stuff. So the depth for sure, and then just I think Farringer was the perfect coach for that situation. He just kind of brought everything together.
Yeah. No, that matters. Now go take me through here. You get done playing junior college, you want to kind of move into a coaching, position. Go, what did, when did you know coaching was your path?
Probably when I was playing on the top 15 team in the nation for back-to-back years and realized what the level was. I was started I think 12 games total, but was never the guy to like score a ton,
Sure.
run a ton. We brought in a transfer my second year, Jordan Dembley, who was 6'4", lefty point guard, not very fast by any means, could shoot it. Really, really smart though. And just me and him, I think, worked well together and just the conversation there and having high level conversations with him, coaching staff, and just kind of realizing where I was kind of maybe athletically and things like that weren't really the fit to continue to play unless I was going to go somewhere just to play basketball, which wasn't really what I was looking for. So kind of just dove deeper in when I was a player to my second year to just do as much as I could to be in with the coaches and learning everything inside and out as much as possible and just to see like, is this something I could do as a coach? And after that, my second year, I had an opportunity to go play at Concordia Division III in Fargo Moorhead area. Didn't want to do that, and decided to transfer back home to Minot to finish out school. Actually had a class with Coach Merkin there,
Nice.
fundamentals of coaching, which I think kind of sparked it even a little bit more. And then Coach Bosch, who's our boys basketball coach here at Ryan, took the job at Ari Deemers at the time and gave me a call. We were young. I think he was 22. I was just about to turn 22.
Yeah.
So he wanted to bring me on, and we didn't really know what we were doing, to be completely honest with you, but we figured it out. And since then, it was all go for that. So.
Sure. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, you then go to Seward County Junior College, correct?
Yeah, so I did coach 2 years with Coach Bosch at our Redeemers for the boys team there. We were like the seventh seed in the district and ended up knocking off Bishop Ryan, who was actually Ben and Mason were on that team.
Yep.
And in districts, I think they were like three in the state, number one in the district by a mile. Knocked them off, end up beating the number three or four team in regionals in the semifinals, and ran to a buzzsaw with Ben and Mason there in the region championship game.
Yep.
And then we followed that up again with another region championship game the next year. And then Coach Bosch came back to his alma mater, Bishop Ryan. I coached 1 year under him there while I just kind of substitute taught. Was trying to just because I graduated with COVID and everything, I ended up graduating in December.
Sure.
As you know, places aren't hiring there. So in talks with Coach Hernandez, who ended up taking the Williston job after I left my second year, Farringer left. Riley got promoted to the head job there, and I actually had planned to go to Williston and coach under him there. And then he called me one night, it was like a Tuesday night, and he's like, "Hey, I'm in Minot, we got to talk." He's like, "I just accepted the job as Seward, I'm flying down." And I was all in. I was like, "Well, let's do it. Like, I
Yeah.
already committed to coaching under you. I'm not gonna take an elementary PE job at Williston and maybe not have a coaching position there."
Right.
So really, really blessed for Riley Hernandez to trust me in that and bring me down to probably the best junior college conference in America. And then Dan Odomenko was the AD down there. He was actually the AD at Williston when I played. So that connection kind of brought us Riley down there and obviously myself. So a lot different in the Jayhawk. A lot more
Sure.
athletes than the Mondak. Mondak, you obviously have some really good players, but a lot of shooting. Whereas the Jayhawk was a lot of 6'8"
Yep.
guys that are just running and jumping mostly. So.
Yeah, staying on that topic, I'm interested to hear when you transition, obviously, you know the JUCO game, you played it, but you went to a different conference that's more athletic and kind of more prominently known nationally as a more like probably higher ranked JUCO conference. What did you look for in recruiting when you were going out recruiting kids? What separates them from the rest? Because the pool is so big when recruiting, it's hard to find a diamond in the rough, and that's what you're looking for mostly when you're recruiting for JUCO. It's a little bit different from NAI, D2, and D1. Obviously, it's only a 2 year school. What did you look for in a kid when recruiting? What separates them?
We had a few different ways we looked at it, especially down there. One, who's going to give us the best chance to compete in the conference, especially when we were a little bit underfunded compared to some of the schools. Because that conference there, you'll have some schools that have 12 scholarships. I think we had seven. Then you have a few schools that are even lower than that, like three to four.
Yeah,
So um, we were kind of in the middle of the pack there. Women's team has always been good there. We weren't super underfunded, but to the likes of some of the other schools, we were. So recruiting battles with those schools te didn't tend to go our way. Um, but just try to find guys that are going to help us compete and guys that fit our system, what we were trying to run. And then obviously we were checking to see anybody that we could pull from a D1 and get back to a JUCO and just to kind of skip the process because as you know, JUCO moves quick.
yeah,
And, and for a while at least, it's like you play in the NSIC, not a lot of guys were recruiting NSI or JUCO guys in the NSIC. Just didn't want to take the learning curve, whatever it may be. They'd rather just try to get them in right away, redshirt them, whatever. Learn. JUCO a lot different. We got an athlete, we can put you in a spot to get up and down, um, get you in a spot where you're knocking down shots. And one thing we kind of took in was shooting was a premium in the Jayhawk. There wasn't a lot of guys that were shooting it well from three. So we try to attack a lot of shooters, see if we could find our niche that way with just being able to spread the floor. When we got there, we had a 6'6" lefty point guard who was highly sought after from the Power Fives. Ended up going to A&M and then bounced around a few other schools. But so his ability to space the floor with his shooting, but also his playmaking, we were just trying to find guys that we we could really build around him there, knowing what we had with him.
Yeah. No, I'm always interested to talk to coaches about that just because JUCO recruiting is so different. There's just so many dynamics with it, as at least a stereotype of JUCO, you get all the kids that aren't their GPAs aren't high enough, their ACT scores aren't high enough, they've gotten in trouble, they're bounced back from four-year schools. There's a lot of that, but it's kind of different nowadays with just to find a spot, it's not necessarily all kids that don't have the highest test scores anymore. It's kids that
Yeah,
legit
and I think
need a
you get
spot.
that at all levels, really. Obviously, the NCAA has some GPA standards and stuff like that where other leagues can get away from that. But I mean, no matter where you're recruiting, you're going to find guys that are maybe not the best guys, and you're going to find guys that are really great, and they just haven't had an opportunity to get to the next level yet. So I think
Sure.
that's what the great thing about JUCO is like it gives those guys a spot to compete at the collegiate level and kind of showcase what they do have and what they're capable of, and kind of projectile them to the next level, whether that's D2 or D1 or even
Yep,
overseas out of JUCO. I've seen that too.
exactly. Now I kind of want to move on here to kind of your next I'm not sure where this took place in your timeline of jobs, but you move on, you go to Minot State to be a Dobo, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I was only in Kansas for 9 months actually. The
Yep.
only 9 months that I lived out of North Dakota. Strangely enough, I always thought I was going to be a guy that got out of high school, graduated, I'm moving on. I'm out of North Dakota and ended up, yeah, 9 months down in Kansas, basically Oklahoma. I think we were 3 miles from the border there. And then had all intentions to go back. Loved coaching for Riley. Our assistant coaches, Coach Los and Coach Grady, were fantastic. I actually lived with Los when I was down there. Big Sky guy actually too. He was I think he's in the Montana State Hall of Fame for basketball,
Nice.
Carlos Taylor. So, but Montana State director of basketball operations job opened up. I saw it. I forgot where I even saw that or got wind of that. But Merkin actually reached out to Riley, asked him if he knew anybody, any young guys that would look into this that could possibly take it. And Riley had mentioned my name. Obviously, I had a relationship with Coach Merkin from the class I taught, and just being him being in Minot for so long, we knew who we were. But that class, I think, kind of helped push me into that spot of trust with Merkin because it was a lot of just discussion about basketball, really. Applied for that, interviewed with him and Coach Brandt, the women's coach at the time. And then, yeah, they offered it, and I thought it was a great opportunity. Obviously, coaching, you get into the college realm, you kind of want to stay there because things move quickly, and if you get out, you're not guaranteed to get back in.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought it was a great chance to jump from JUCO to the NCAA. So that's the route we went.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit because even I didn't know when I first got to Minot State and a teammate had mentioned to me, yeah, go meet Coach Edwards, our Dobo. And I was like, Dobo? I had no clue what that was. And I think a lot of people don't. Can you explain to the listener kind of what are the roles in your daily routine as a Dobo at an NCAA program?
Yeah, so Dobo's kind of unique for the Division II level. There wasn't a ton. That's kind of coming around more. But at the time, that must have been what, 4 or 5 years ago now? Coming up on 5 years now.
Yep,
At the time, there wasn't a ton of Dobos. I think in the NSIC it was me and I believe Mankato had one.
sure.
Typically, it comes Division 1s, you'll see it a ton, especially Power Fives. But typically, it'd be like director of basketball operations for men, and then
Mm,
there would be a separate one for women. Um, Minnesota State didn't have the funding to obviously do that, as most D2s didn't. So I was split between men and women. So day to day, depending on the time of the month. For when I first got there, it was summer. So we were jumping right into camps. My job was to basically set up, run, staff, just manage all the camps,
yep,
possible schedules, everything. And then from there, once we started getting into the school year, setting up practice schedules, making sure um, pretty much anything operations wise. Travel was a huge one. Setting up hotels, buses. We ran our busing out of Bismarck, which is about an hour and a half from Minot. So setting up, making sure they can get buses up here. And then obviously we are basketball season in the winter, so that was always kind of a headache for it. Them traveling an hour and a half to get us and then going wherever we need to in the nice northern winters we have.
Yeah.
But just a lot of operations. I'd say it was kind of kind of your median guy between the AD and the coaches. Um, do a lot of the stuff you do as a high school AD, but just specifically for those programs. Like I said, whether that was scheduling practices, if we did any interview stuff, getting that all set up, setting up any recruits coming to campus, travel, just kind of the logistics of the program, really.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say like now that you've transitioned on to be an athletic director at Bishop Ryan, how much did being a Dobo help you? Like, could have you done your athletic director job right now without having the experience as a Dobo?
Could you? Yes. Did it make it a lot easier for me to transition? 100%.
Yeah.
Merkin was really good. As you know, he's a really organized guy. I could pretty much look at anything that's happened under him in the 12 years he was at Minot State. From the second I got on campus, he gave me the first week, he just handed me a computer with a ton of files and said, I'm not even going to talk to you, just go through everything, ask questions once you have them. So that was a huge help to just transition into that job. And then I also kind of at the JUCO level had some experience with it,
Mhm.
just because I was the guy that set up our food and I traveled there to take it off Riley's plate. So that kind of got me pushed forward into the kind of the realm of even being considered for the Dobo position at Minot State. And then doing it for two programs, I think was a very unique experience that kind of launched me into being prepared to be an AD. And I don't think without that experience at Minot State, I'm even probably considered for the job at Bishop Ryan.
Sure. Yeah, and when being an AD, you got a unique situation as well at Bishop Ryan, where not only do you have to be the AD, you have to be the women's head coach. How do you balance being an AD and a basketball coach at the same time?
Communication, I think, is the biggest aspect with it, and then having hiring and maintaining good coaches, especially that season that I'm in. I think Coach Bosch has been fantastic. He brought on some help with Coach Bull and Coach Barnes that kind of make the boys program just operate really smoothly, and they don't need a ton of my help. But just working early is the biggest thing. Like get the stuff done early, be prepared for it. Things are always going to come up, but if you're at least prepared and ahead of the game, you're not scrambling while you're maybe leaving for a road trip for girls basketball to help, whether it's wrestling or boys basketball. So just getting the work done early, being prepared, constantly over communicating everything with the other admin team, your coaches, and just being ready for anything that is going to pop up.
Sure. So you would say time management was one of the major things that helps you succeed
Oh,
and
for
finding
sure.
that dual
Yeah, for
role.
sure. I wasn't fantastic at that, but Merkin really helped me
I'm
dial
sure.
in. Been in two programs and kind of bounced me back and forth. So the time management got a lot better at Minot State, and I'd say that's if not one, it's one B for things you got to be on top of for being an AD.
Yeah. As a coach right now at the high school level, I had Ben Bull on earlier. You just mentioned him. I talked to him a little bit about when college coaches come and watch practice or talk to you over the phone or talk to you in person about recruiting one of your players. What are they kind of looking for? What do they ask you? What do they want to hear from you about a player they kind of want to recruit from your program?
Yeah, I think the most common question I get asked for right away is just how are they as a teammate? How are they in school?
Yeah.
What kind of human being are they? Like they're recruiting a kid for a reason. Whether he or she has the skills, they know that.
Yeah.
They obviously like something they see on the court. they really want to dive into what they're like outside of when the lights are on and the ball's getting tossed up for the tip at 7.
Yeah.
I don't know, like they good family person, what kind of family they come from, how are they as a teammate? They good? Do they have issues? Do they go to class? Are they skip in class? Do they struggle in school?
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a better understanding of the kid that they're hopefully going to offer scholarship to, and nowadays hopefully offer some money to NIL. But they're not going to make that commitment if they don't trust the human that they are.
Yeah, because it just got so much more serious at the next level. You know best. Like you're talking about coaches at the college level. That's their livelihood. That's kind of dependent on if they can keep their family in the, same spot at whatever college they're at. And I think one thing Ben said that I really liked was coaches, it doesn't matter how many points you're averaging, your accolades. If a coach comes into a building and you have bad body language as a player, they might just cross your name off the list right away and walk out the door, regardless of what you can do on the court. Uh, just because the reality of it, there's every player's a dime a dozen. There's so many kids that would kill for a spot at the next level that if you have body language, what coach would possibly trust that in a expensive scholarship, you know?
Yeah, especially like yeah, I mean you touched on it. Their jobs at stake, their
Yeah.
families at stake, and college coaching is so cutthroat that, 1, 2 bad years or down years, not even necessarily bad, they'll find the next person. So that it's really, really important you find people that are going to buy into what you're doing and are going to be good human beings and be available for you, and not getting in trouble, whether that's outside of school and basketball or just in trouble in school and not being able to keep up their grades and things like that. So it's really, really important for coaches to bring in the right guys.
Sure. All right. Now I want to move on to the last two segments of the podcast. First, we got the coach pet peeves segment. You can explain as much as you want on these three questions. Biggest thing players do that drive you crazy in your program?
See, this is a weird spot for me because if I'm talking girls basketball or boys basketball, they're a lot different.
Either
My
or.
biggest though for sure is being late.
Yep.
Like we make it an effort. Like it's as you know, you've played at all levels, and you're a kid of a coach, so you get it. If practice starts at 4, it doesn't mean show up at 4,
Yep.
right? Like we want to be in there getting work in, and we're warmed up, ready to go by 4 o'clock, so we're jumping into drills. Was really tough for at the high school level. Not being prepared myself for that,
Sure.
just being kind of ignorant to the fact that I was at the college level. And obviously, we had that some too with some college kids that would roll in a couple minutes before practice starts. And that was that big transition for high school kids was just like, okay, we got to get in here. We have to be like moving, working on something, right? We always give our kids something that they got to do for pre-practice. I know Merkin was big on that too. What's your pre-practice look like? And I'm not saying you got to be here an hour early. I would love it if you were, but not every kid's like that at the
Yep.
high school level for sure. So just not being on time, whether that's for practice, bus. I've actually left a kid or two because they were 5 minutes late for the bus, and sorry, times we don't wait on you. We departure times. So we got to go.
Yep.
Outside of that, playing wise, not boxing out, not talking.
Sure. Sure.
These
Love it.
things.
All
Our
right.
kids don't talk. Big issue.
Yep. It's and going back to the being on time thing, like it's crazy. It still needs to be said that you need to be practice doesn't start at 4. You need to be here 10 minutes early. It's crazy that still needs to be said. But one bad habit you see in young athletes today.
One bad habit I see in young athletes today, that was a
Y-
question.
Yep.
Oh man, there's quite a few. One I would say. So obviously we know Steph Curry kind of changed the game. Threes are getting shot a lot more.
Yep.
Analytics are into it. We want to shoot threes and layups, free throws, right? But I would say just not knowing the role and thinking that it's everybody's a shooter. Not
Yep.
everybody's a shooter,
No,
right? And they're just the habits where that comes from is obviously the social media plays a massive thing on it. You see it with some of the lower level AAU teams are, to be quite frank, a joke, where they're just there for clicks on TikTok and Instagram and not really benefiting the kids by any means. And it's translated to the game in general. I don't think there's a ton of work being done to just hammer home like really true fundamentals. Like so I mentioned the shooting thing, how many kids I've walked in. So like when I was in high school, which is getting to be a while now, like everybody started when they shot close to the rim. Like it was just what everybody was taught. Like you do your form shooting, then back it up. You're walking to a gym now and everybody just shoes on. First thing I'm doing is yanking a
three
30
ball.
footer.
Yep.
That is a really bad habit that I see a ton is like no one's really just trying to like get the work in early, get my shot ready and shot prep ready, whether that's form shooting and then just working on like small footwork stuff before you start extending back.
Sure. No, I love it. Last question for you here, Coach. One thing, this is our advice segment. This is just one question for all high school kids, young youth players looking to get recruited at the next level. What's one thing you wish you knew as a player when you were trying to, separate yourself to play at the next level?
Share. So one thing I notice a lot with kids that start to get recruited, especially early in the process. Obviously, it's a little different. You probably don't know the person that's recruiting you until that relationship's built, but a lot of kids are super reserved when they have the conversation. And
Mhm.
it's a big thing college coaches look at. It's like, can this kid have a conversation with me? And they're not dumb. They understand like whether, sophomores, you can start getting recruited junior year. Like if you're not heavily recruited and stuff like that, you're gonna be a little shy. But just being able to share with them and like ask questions. They like guys that ask questions. They like athletes that ask questions. And I think a lot of kids are reserved. I was like that myself. I was a pretty quiet guy, kind of reserved. I thought it probably took me 2 years in the college system to like really realize like you got to have the conversations, you got to ask the questions. You got a question, so does everybody else. So I think just sharing your thoughts, letting people kind of letting people in, especially coaches, to kind of who you are and what you're about, because that matters. And if you're going to go to a program, you want to make sure it's the right fit for you. And if you don't ask the questions and you're not sharing what your personal thoughts are on things, so you're probably not going to find the right place. So I think just sharing more and being open to conversation and having the conversation.
Yeah. No, that's the first time I've heard someone go in depth about that, about like honestly, because I was the same way when I got recruited. I almost thought in my head, like the coaches just want like the simple, yes, no, like not be a problem, but it's actually the complete opposite. These coaches want to actually, try and figure out your personality before you even get on campus. Like they want to know if you're curious and if you're asking questions, that means you're going to be prepared. And that's
Right.
all it is.
100%.
So, Coach,
Yeah.
I appreciate you as always. I wanted to have you on because I respect you a bunch as who you are now as a coach, as athletic director. I feel myself taking the same path as you. If I ever have advice, I usually ask you. So I always appreciate you for your time and especially to take the time out of your day to do this. So appreciate you, Coach.
Anytime, Connor. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yep.
All right. Take care.